there is no such thing as like too much in the sense like there's not like over 5. Google says, oh, you guys are over 5, you can't do that. However, it is related to sort of engagement and quality. So if you're pounding 1,000 posts a week that have zero engagement, just a bounce rate of 100% within 3 seconds or whatever, then Google doesn't like that, full stop. But you could be doing 10 posts a week that are extremely good with high engagements, no bounce rates, and Google would love that. So what I thought there was a number that, oh, you shouldn't be over number. It's not number, it's quality and engagement. So yeah, so I've been told through, again, AI, that our cadence with our quality checks and the quality of our content is totally fine. At 3.2.
All right, welcome back to ThriveCast. And with me, I have here my friend Emmanuel. Emmanuel and I, we are in a couple of groups, and we had started talking about how the hell do we use Claude Cowork for marketing and content generation. And he spawned up the idea about that. Hey, he's been doing it for some time, and we should really talk about it. And a week or two back, we touched upon it, and we said we got to do the podcast. So there we are. We're going to talk about how to build a content engine with Claude Cowork and Obsidian. And I'll let maybe Emmanuel introduce yourself. Maybe Emmanuel, tell us a little about yourself. What does your company do? And how did you even stumble upon this idea that you got to go solve this particular problem?
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me on the podcast. Gururaj, excited. I'm going to be sharing, I think, some pretty valuable information here today. I've actually debated whether or not to do so, but with your prodding, I'm here and I'm excited to do so because you've told me it's a lot of fellow entrepreneurs and so on here. So yeah, my name's Emmanuel. I'm based on Vancouver Island in Canada. So we're a Canadian headquartered company called Jetstream Hospitality Solutions, but the short is Jetstream. We're a really niche vertical. We're not even true SaaS. We're like a commission revenue tech-enabled service company. And in a nutshell, what we do is we help hotels and their legacy technology reach new channels of distribution like Airbnb and Vrbo. It's way more than this, and we have different products and services and so on, but that's it at we help hotels and resorts get new distribution, more bookings, more revenue through new channels. That's it.
That's perfect. That's perfect. And I think the name also goes well with it, Jetstream. So, get more comfortable towards
but
it.
A good brand guy come up with that in 2018.
Yeah.
He did a good job.
About it. So Emmanuel, could you maybe start off the basics? And I think your company has been there for quite some time, and then you recently got excited about using Claude to be able to go help yourself, help your team, and walk us through the journey on why did you start even thinking about that you can use Claude or Claude Cowork to go build content. Let's start with the fundamentals and we'll build upon it.
All right, let's start with the fundamentals. So first of all, we're very lucky that we have obviously our own software development team, and my CTO, the CTO of Jetstream, he has a master's in AI that he worked on for 7 years. So this is not like a passing fad for him. This is a deep area of passion and expertise. So I have somebody to riff with and shoot ideas with internally that's very knowledgeable and also very business oriented. So that helps. He hasn't done any of the work that I've built, but I'm saying this because I'd say over the last year and a half, 2 years, we've had this internal idea and question is like, how do we build the self-driving company? We see where AI is going, and we're kind of like, well, how do we structure technology and systems in the company so that one day this vision, which may never be truly achieved, but at least it's a good vision, how do we build a self-driving company? So that's where the question comes from, which led me down this path. And so I guess that's the first question. And of course, I've been using, and I'm an engineer by training. I'm a mechanical engineer, not a software engineer, but I like building things. And I'd say over the last 2-3 years, like everybody, I was early adopter of ChatGPT, and it blew my mind. And then I was an early adopter in Claude, and then Chat, and then Cowork. And it's the Cowork moment that was the big unlock, not just for me, but I think, it created SaaS apocalypse and tech valuations plummeted and all these things. So that was a big unlock moment. And then I spend a lot of my times at lunch just watching YouTube videos, trying to understand this question: how do we build the self-driving business? And what came at some point in my field of view, I guess, was this Obsidian as a central brain for your business or for yourself, frankly. That's, but let's just focus on the business side right now. I took that to the CTO. I said, hey, I saw this YouTube video. What do you think? And yeah, he was like, oh, I'm not so sure, blah, blah, blah. And then about 2 weeks later, he came back to me and said, hey, that Obsidian thing, go play with that. Like, you have my blessing as the CTO. You go play with that. And I did. And my first, and we can get into Obsidian later, but just at a high level, my first question was, hey, Claude, I would like to build an autonomous content generating machine for the business as a marketing tool for our business. And it seems fairly simple to ask that. And anybody can go on ChatGPT or Claude today and say, hey, write me a blog for my business, for sure. But to do it really well and thoughtfully and scientifically almost, that was the journey I set myself to embark on as a first, essentially, example project to build an Obsidian. Because they're like, okay, great, I have Obsidian. What do I do with it? So my what do I do with it was, let's try to do this together. Obsidian, Claude, and I, the three of us. Really, Claude and I. Obsidian is just a file management system. But anyways, and so that's it. That answers the question of like, how did I get to wanting to build this? What was the impetus? That was it.
Yeah, and maybe before we jump into the details of it, does that work? And do you have any,
Yeah.
how did that change? Maybe your life, maybe traffic to your company website. Is that having any driving anything very meaningful towards your goal of self-sustaining or an autonomous revenue?
Yes, the answer is yes, and I am going to share later early results because I've only been building this now for 10 weeks from
10 weeks.
scratch.
Okay.
10 weeks from scratch. But I would say Obsidian itself, and again, let me say, when I see, just to everybody listening, when we talk about Obsidian, Obsidian is an open source tool that allows you to view folders of markdown files in a nicer way. It's just really a skin on top of a folder to look at markdown
Mhm.
files in a more appealing way, and it's got a cool knowledge graph mode that gets everybody excited as well. But really, when we say Obsidian, what I mean is behind Obsidian is just a folder on your computer with a bunch of markdown files that are all interlinked like a big wiki, and those markdown files are context for Claude. That's so if you hear me say Obsidian, it's not like Obsidian's a magic thing. It's just a folder with a bunch of markdown files that are all interlinked. And that methodology, I guess, I think I cannot be more excited about or say enough things about how formative, it is for business and how almost literally infinite the opportunity of what you can build is with it. So if you're listening and you haven't played with this markdown file slash Obsidian, go on YouTube, Claude Cowork plus Obsidian, and watch some videos and you'll understand. Because it's not a deep dive in Obsidian today, it's more on the marketing pipeline that I built on top of it. Uh, it's infinite. And now it's not just me. I brought this to the business, and like anything you bring forward, at first it's like slow adoption. People are like, well, why are we doing this? Why don't we keep using Notion or this and that? And now I would say every major department, finance, onboarding, um, we have account management, but also sort of optimization because we're constantly optimizing listings on the platform so that they'll book. All of that is building more and more tools and repeatable workflows using Obsidian or the Markdown file. So it is now spreading in the business. And I guess those elements we're building are all building blocks of the self-driving business.
Well, I'm so excited. Well, let's go deep dive and maybe take it away. I'm
Sure.
guessing you'll be sharing your screen, so the share button should be,
Yeah.
somewhere down on your screen. So take it away.
All right. Well, of course, I had to ask Claude to create me a schematic of what I've built. So I'm going to zoom in here a bit, make sure that anybody who's watching this is nice and clear on your screen. So what I've built is a near autonomous marketing content pipeline using Cowork and Obsidian, and I see Obsidian again. It's the folders of markdown files behind it from literally keyword research all the way to publish, all the way to, and the hot term now is, according to my CTO, self-recursive intelligence loops, where you're trying to build a self-improving system. And when you start seeing all that happen, that's when you think, oh my goodness, we actually might solve all the world's diseases in the next 10 years. Like I have no idea, but I can see how things are accelerating massively. And this is one small example in how to build it for your business. So the operating system, there's three foundations that are doing this work. One, you have the Obsidian Vault, and we call it the Jetstream AI brain. And really, these markdown files, so if I can simplify it another way, and if you haven't used Obsidian, just use this analogy. If you go to Claude or ChatGPT and say, write me a blog about my business, the output's going to be so-so. If you say to ChatGPT, write me a blog about my business, but here's the last 10 blogs that a human wrote, and use that voice, and my customer profile is XYZ, and I like to have a joke at the end of every paragraph, and the output is going to be way better. So having a folder of markdown files is like that, but on multi steroids, because these markdown files, which are just text, become the context or the prompt that gets injected into your Claude. So instead of being very simple or medium size, it's monster size, which means the output is really good and in line with what you want. All right, so that's the
Maybe
Obsidian.
a quick question there. So,
Yeah.
I'm sure some of the listeners might even wonder, about. I think for all the listeners, I think marketing teams, founders, I think you should take a note of this one. Obsidian plus Cowork, might actually kill away some of your marketing agencies that you employ.
Yes.
The tools that you employ. Jasper, Copy.ai, Writesonic. There are so many content creator SaaS products out there. This would essentially replace many of them. So, right.
Yes.
With that said, Emmanuel, tell us a little about what do you have in those markdown files, and how did you even get that in the very first place?
Great question. What I had done to start my Obsidian Vault, just to seed it, is I'd watched a YouTube video, which is the one that I just said, go and Google Claude Cowork plus Obsidian. Um, and and at one point, the guy in the video was showing his Obsidian Vault, which is pretty standard. And I just took a screenshot of that and I uploaded my Claude. I said, hey, I want to build this thing with Obsidian and Central Brain in this vault. Do you know what I'm talking about, Claude? And Claude was like, oh yeah, I totally know what you're talking about. And sure, I'll create you a starter Obsidian Vault. And that was just an empty shell with all the subfolders. I mean, I can share my screen here. I sort of prepped it here, but here's sort of, if you look on the left screen, I cannot make this bigger. This is Obsidian. Again, this is just a folder on my computer. Obsidian is just a nicer way to look at markdown files. Because if I looked at these files without Obsidian, I would be opening them with my text editor on my Mac, which doesn't look very good. But you got your home folder with I got my vault permissions and some dashboarding. I got company with context and our brands and our voice and my customers and our vision and mission statement, all the way down to now where everybody's working, which is departments.
Mhm.
And in my case, we have marketing, which is where I work, and onboarding and performance and AEO and so on. And then if I go into marketing, there's a lot of files. But if I go just maybe to the index files of marketing, sorry, I'm just scrolling down here. These are all blog posts that have been created. Um, I don't want to spend too much time here looking for stuff yeah, sorry, it's not. But anyways, if I just look at this, here's a file, for example, of our automated content engine. And I think that's how it started. I basically said to Claude, look, I want to build this automated content engine. And he was like, okay, great. I'm going to write this down for you in your vault. And there it is. Now, just so everybody knows, all these files, I don't create them. I never touch them. Everything that gets created in the vault gets created by Claude. I just speak to Claude. I use dictation. Highly recommend dictation if you're not using dictation. Big fan of Whisperflow. But whatever works for you on the dictation, I speak to Claude and I tell it what I want, and then it goes and summarizes my thoughts or enhances them and puts them and writes these markdown files. So that's what's in the Obsidian Vault, i.e. the folder, is these markdown files, which are just text with a bunch of SOPs, and this is what becomes the the context for the prompt essentially. And if you go to the start, just to take it up, every vault in Obsidian has a claude.md file. This is our claude.md file here. That every time you start a new task in Claude Cowork that is tied to that vault, the first thing the task does is it opens the claude.md file, and there is the vault rules with the vault permissions and how this works and how we name files and how the wiki works and which departments are in this vault and so on. So the first thing Claude does is it ingests that. It goes, all right, now I know the rules of how this works. Then it follows the hyperlinking route, the wiki route, to the department you're working in or that question is based on, and then it injects all of that context.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of token and context heavy, but at this point where the speed, I think, of tokens, the cost of tokens is diminishing faster than anything else, it's an incredible way to build SOPs and context for your business and context for your
Mm-hmm.
prompts. So that's kind of an overview of
That's
Obsidian
beautiful.
/ Markdown files. All right. So that's I also compare it, if I can, to, I've been telling a few of my friends about this because I'm super passionate. It's like a human being. Your brain is Claude Cowork. So that's the intelligence, the AI intelligence that can reason and make decisions and help you think things through. But the human brain also has memory and context, like don't step in front of a moving car. Don't take 10 bottles of wine tonight. It's going to hurt tomorrow. Those kinds of memories that have been built up, that's the Obsidian Vault. Claude is your AI, it's your functioning brain. And then connectors are like your hands or your eyes. It's like the way your brain then goes and interacts with the world, right? Or your voice. So that's a way to see the kind of like Claude in the middle, your connectors as your tools, and your brain context as Obsidian. Another way to put it. So our foundation is the operating system, the context, which is Obsidian. The operator, which is Claude Cowork, that's the brain. That reads the vault, runs the steps, calls the tools, the connectors that I talked about. It
Mm-hmm.
spawns subagents, and I'll talk about that later. And then the rules on how to all do this sit at this claude.md file that I just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the case of my vault, if you build your own vault, and I recommend and ask Claude to do this, is every one of our departments has its own instructions. So the claude.md is like the umbrella instructions for
Mm-hmm.
the business in the vault, but every department will start having their own instructions. And instead of putting them all in the claude.md, which would mean the claude.md would start being heavy and token heavy, we've moved our department instructions into different departments.
The
That's a
different
little change
files.
that I did along the way.
Okay.
Okay. So that's the foundation. And then what I've built, and this is really the juice of what we want to talk about today, is the pipeline, which for every post, it follows these 4 phases in essentially 24 steps. And it's on my screen. If you're listening to this, it's worth looking at and screenshotting. And you could even feed all of this into Claude and ask Claude to build this for you. This is the world we live in. And this is where I'm saying just building, hey, Claude, build me a simple blog for my website. Very easy, very poor quality. What we're building here at Jetstream is actually quite powerful, and you'll see. So phase 1 is ideation. So how are we doing ideation, and how is Claude doing ideation? First of all, it does keyword research. So of course, in the context of the vault, all of our ICP, customer profiles, product lines, who's buying those,
Mm-hmm.
voice, brand, companies I admire, in my case, Berkshire Hathaway, Patagonia, those are 2 companies that I admire very much. My personal CEO voice, like all of that is contextualized and always pulled every time a blog is created. But first we got to figure out, what do we need to write about? So first of all, I've connected my Claude to a wonderful headerless SEO tool called Data for SEO. It's incredibly cost effective, and Claude built the MCP to it for me. Again, I didn't have to build that. So it does keyword research, and it does so once a week. Also, I told Claude, here are my top 10 competitors. So every week, Claude scans the blogs of my competitors for 2 things: product announcements, which I find interesting to know, just so I'm aware of what's going on. But 2, it's looking for their keyword strategy, which also informs my keyword strategy. Either in, hey, we need to pile into that keyword, or let's not touch that keyword right now because it's not winnable, because we're too small compared to that $1 billion company and we're not going to win that keyword. So let's stay away from it for now. And as of July 26th, so it's sort of like in about not too long, we're going to start Google Search Console mining. So what does that mean? It means Once you start building content, which we're now in our 10th week of building this machine, eventually you'll have a bunch of blog posts that are in the 20th position, sort of like page two and a half. Some of those blog posts, with just a little more help, could probably end up on the first page. So GSC mining means we're going to be looking at our blog posts that are sort of second page, but with help, and then we're going to start drafting other blog posts to sort of create more content around that post that's doing good and linking to that post to drive more SEO juice to it. That was Claude's idea. We're not going to do that yet because we don't know the data yet. We got to sort of run this for 3 months, see what is at second page, and then push them. So that's our ideation phase.
And the
And then,
GSC mining
yeah,
is, I'm guessing you'll probably call some third-party APIs to go mine.
yeah. So Claude built an MCP to my Google Analytics GA4 as well as to Google Search Console.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going straight to the source on that. And then Claude and I built a scoring system together, which not going to give the exact recipe, but I'm going to talk about the components just a little later. And it takes all of this information, including whether or not we already have posts in that cluster of posts we want to talk about, and it creates a scoring system. And any post, any idea that has a score over 40 and the total score potential is 115 gets a brief.
Mm-hmm.
And the briefs get created in Obsidian in an ideas folder, which I can show here. If I can show one thing, it is this ideas folder here. So here's a bunch of briefs and they're scored. I've set my system up so that the score is the first number. So when it comes for me to pick my next brief that I want Claude to build upon, I'll most likely take the first one here, 67, although it may not, sometimes you're just building a cluster, so you might skip that, but point is that there's a scoring system in this whole affair.
Okay.
So that's my input. First, in this phase, my only input is to select the brief, right? Then we move to production. And so I will say to Claude, all right, take a brief, the one that I just showed you there. I want you to draft that. And I've developed, again, a pretty substantial recipe, which is, again, all documented in Obsidian in these markdown files. So it always has the same recipe. And first of all, the important thing here, initially what I was doing is I had one agent do everything. The agent would do the research to write the blog post, then the agent would do the blog post, and then the agent would check its own work. Because in Obsidian, I have a whole bunch of checks that happen. Mm-hmm. And I caught it lying. One day I was reviewing a draft and there was an outright lie in it. And I knew that my check would have caught the lie. So I said, hey, Claude, what's going on? And it said, oh, sorry, I didn't follow the instructions. And then when I said I checked it, I didn't check it. I was like, okay, well, thanks for telling me that. It's not very helpful. So my CTO recommended that you split out the work into subagents. So I have one agent that does all the research, deep research for that blog post. Then I have a second agent that takes the table of research with the facts, with the data, with the URLs. That's the first agent's job. Drafts a really good comprehensive blog post. And then I have a third agent whose only job it is to review that blog post and make sure all the facts and the hyperlinks and everything are true and real.
Got it.
Okay.
And when you mean an agent in this case, because you're using Claude Cowork, I'm guessing these would be probably like a scheduled task or something, right?
No, well, a lot of this runs on scheduled tasks, but not that. No, you can actually, I didn't know that. You can ask Cowork. Well, you can ask Claude that when it sets up instructions for you in Obsidian to ask for a subagent. Mm-hmm. If you tell Cowork, I want you to do this task, but I want you to check it with a subagent, you'll see it work and it will say, okay, it's spinning off a subagent to check the work now. Okay. You can ask it to spin off subagents. Okay. All right. And then once this is done and the draft is created, then we run a really significant anti-pattern AI like the thing that looks like AI slop is the classic anti-patterns, Guraj didn't do this for X, he wanted Y. That kind of, we're all used to reading it now. All the M dashes, all the anti-patterns, synthetic AI.
What is that?
Yes, exactly. So I'm adverse to that significantly. So all the drafts then get reviewed by another agent for that, which works really well because the output coming out of my blogs now truly finally, and it took a while to get there, sound like they were written by a human or they don't sound like typical AI slop for sure. And then finally, there's another check around all the SEO because again, this is the beauty of Claude is you can say, hey, when you're setting up your SEO checks, You can say, Claude, you're the top SEO expert in the world. What do we need in our blog post, and what checks should we have at the end to catch it? Like, we're truly in a world now, and I don't want to diminish people's expertise because I have an expertise and I believe in my expertise as well. But as somebody without a deep expertise in something can now be working with AI to build up a product that has some pretty significant expertise baked in. It's not perfect and you're lacking all those little nuances that are
Yeah.
hard won through 20 years of being an SEO pro, but it's pretty crazy what's happening. Anyways, detour.
Hmm.
And then I then look at the draft and I read it all and I'll comment. I'll usually each draft I'll be like, hey Claude, here are my comments. Just in Claude, right? Like this, or blah blah blah. And then it goes, sure, and it fixes it, and I'm happy. Only when I'm happy, because we have a European presence, will I say, okay, I'm happy with this, now create the French variant. And it will literally create not an exact translation, it will create a French variant that is relevant to the French market. It will run all the same series of QA audits on the French side. And now I have an English and a French blog right at the same time. So at this point, my involvement was to review the draft, which I think is important. I'm not at the point of wanting to fully automate this thing. I think it is important to, because I like to the point I still have expertise and knowledge and subtleties in this industry, especially in my industry, right? So now we're moving to the phase 3, which is staging. Now we need staging at Jetstream because of the way we're set up. Our website is powered by HubSpot. And
Hmm.
also, we have some pretty cool imagery on our blogs. And I encourage you to check out our blog. It's jetstreamtech.io/blog. And you'll see it's something like we got a hero character. It's a bearded superhero with our logo on him and so on. So I need my graphic designer, Marco, who's based in the Philippines, to do a bit of work on the imagery. And I'll show you how I get there. So first of all, in staging, Claude has built me an MCP to HubSpot. So I'm controlling the website portion of my through HubSpot in a completely headerless fashion. I don't touch the website at all. It's Claude that builds everything in HubSpot for me. HubSpot's pretty good at that. There's better solutions. I think Webflow is better than that, and there's other solutions as well. But we're on HubSpot, so I have to sort of live with what I have, and it's pretty good. So not only does it then stage the French and English versions in HubSpot for me without me doing absolutely anything, it stages everything. It includes the space for the photo, for the images, which it has already determined. It puts in my CTA buttons with the right colors and the right translation, French and English, and the right links because they all lead to forms and so on. And then it creates a card in Notion. So why Notion? Notion is my interface between Claude, myself, and Marco in the Philippines. It was the simplest way to do that. So I have like a Kanban board in Notion, and it'll create a card saying, "Hey Marco, there's a new blog post ready." And initially it was like, "Now go create the images." But now we've taken it a step further.
Hmm.
Now what we do is we built an MCP to Gemini Nano Banana Pro, which is also and essentially, and I won't get into the details, but Marco in the Philippines now controls the prompt. He's like the chef in the kitchen. He controls the prompt, and my Claude or the system pings his prompt, which he controls with reference images and so on, and then shoots it to Gemini and say, here, I want you to create an AB version for the hero image, an AB version for inline image 1, an AB version for inline image 2. And all of that arrives in Marco's Google Drive folder.
Hmm.
So now it's like, hey, Marco, go finalize those images. And what he does is he'll add a bit of title. He kind of puts like a filter on top of them to get our brand colors to look good. Like we're hyper fluffing this. You wouldn't need to go this crazy. You could fully automate all this through Gemini. But at this point, we're doing this because we're just happy. We're proud of our imagery in our blogs.
Hmm.
So that's what we're doing. So what he does is finalizes them. And once the images are finalized, he hand puts them in the blog. Depending on your situation, you probably wouldn't need to do this. And then once this is done, basically Claude will do a heck of a lot of checks again. It'll make sure that everything that is in Obsidian matches what happened in in HubSpot, matches what happened in Notion, and then it does a heck more. I wrote some stuff down, but it does checks with data. So essentially, once the preview blog post is in HubSpot, it'll do a whole range more of meta tags, heading hierarchies, image alt text, image resolutions, structured data, mobility usage. It does a whole bunch of testing and so on. And then that's like we're ready to publish. So at the end, once Marco's done his job, he takes the card in Notion and he moves it to a column called ready to publish.
Got it. Okay.
And every morning, my Claude on a scheduled task looks for that card in Notion. And when it's there, it picks it up and then it runs P4 publishing, which is like another set of instructions and context in Obsidian, which is a whole bunch of pre-published checks. And we publish now Monday, Wednesday, Fridays at 9 a.m.
Oh,
It
wow.
puts it, yeah, so 3 times a week. It puts an announcement in general in Slack for the team because I'm running this experiment publicly. So it'll be like, here's the new blog post, here's a link to it. It puts a description of the strategy. This blog post is targeting blah, blah, blah. Here's the keyword difficulty. Here's the PPC value of this keyword right now. Here's why we wrote it, how it fits into our overall strategy. And it also includes the link to the French version for European teams, so they can go read the French version as well. And then it updates it, like it moves the card to published in Notion. It updates our content inventory. And then something here that's pretty cool is deferred link sweep. So one of the strategies, obviously, when you're building content, and I didn't know any of this until I was instructed, hopefully not through hallucinations of AI, is that it's really important to link between your blog posts and also to link up to your product pages on your website. It's called,
Okay.
I think, the pillar cluster strategy or something like that.
Yeah.
So oftentimes when we're publishing blog posts, the Claude through Obsidian knows that this blog is part of an 8-part cluster, but this is the first one of them. So there's 7 more blogs that are not published yet. So it knows that eventually this blog needs to have all these hyperlinks,
Mhm.
but those blog posts are not meant. So it's built itself a table in Obsidian, and it's like a deferred link table. And every time it publishes a new blog, it then goes back to that table and goes, okay, this blog post is now live. Are there any historical blogs that need to link to it? And if
Mhm.
so, it goes and updates everything in HubSpot completely headerlessly automatically for me
Beautiful.
and then does all the checks on that.
Okay.
So
So
that's
your
how, yeah,
Cloud Cowork has access to Notion, Slack,
yes,
uh,
yeah,
of course, Obsidian,
yeah,
uh, data for SEO. Oh, you
yeah,
already have the tooling. Okay.
yeah. So here's my tooling layer. So in terms of connectors, Notion is a straight connector in Claude Cowork. Slack is a connector. Chrome, scheduled tasks, obviously, it's native to Cowork. In terms of custom connectors or MCPs that it built is data for SEO. Big fan of data for SEO. GA4 and GSC as well. HubSpot CMS was a custom. Gemini image was custom. And there's actually one missing here, which I'm a big fan of as well. It's firecrawl.dev. If you haven't used that, the problem with using Chrome to scan other websites is, from what I can tell, it doesn't seem like uh, um, Claude does a good job of scanning and reading other websites, especially if they have a heavy JavaScript presence. And this is above
Mhm.
my pay grade, but this seems to be what I'm understanding. So firecrawl.dev is a Y Combinator company, and their mission is to be the eyes of the LLMs on the internet. So what they do is they scan the web properly and they transform it into a markdown file that they then give to the LLMs. So it's a lot less token heavy way of scanning the internet. So that's what I now do to scan my competitors' websites is I use firecrawl.dev. That's another custom MCP it built.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So essentially, in terms of ideation, because we talked about ideation here, again, I'm repeating myself a little bit, but there's 3 sources. There's the keyword research, which is programmatic discovery of winnable keywords based on volume, difficulty, blah, blah, blah. There's competitor intelligence to see blogs for gaps, their velocity, response openings, blah, blah, blah. And then soon there's going to be the Google Search Console opportunity mining as well, which is going to start in July to see which of our pages currently rank in position 8 to 20, which would be the fastest win to shoot
Mhm.
them onto the first page. Yeah, so all of this is unified into a scoring model, which is the components of my scoring model are relevance, winnability, traffic, commercial, and bonuses. There's a series of bonuses available, and that it's on a now. So this is the part that is going to be the self-learning loop. I don't know if this model, it was developed with Claude to the best of our ability, but we don't know if it's a good model. So as we get more data and more months, we'll be able to say like, oh yeah, we thought this was a top, that was a 87 score, but in
Mhm.
reality it flopped. But this 42 score one here is actually crushing it. And that's where we're going to start doing some self-improvement, right?
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm actually perfect segue. The loops, how the engine improves itself. So first of all, obviously, every Monday we're pulling our weekly analytics and intelligence, and any new Google Search Console keywords flow back into the queue. Then we're going to have the content performance retro, which is monthly, predicted versus actual performance of the published posts. And then also, I do have a self-learning quality loop, and I encourage everybody to do this. This is really where the magic of AI and these tools are. Every time I'm doing my SEO checks at the end, or any check at the end of publishing, sort of any component of this stage that I showed
Hmm.
you, I've instructed Claude to, if there's a failure, that is a failure due to design of the instructions, update the instructions. Now you got to be careful with this, obviously. So I kind of said, just do it if it's real. Don't just kind of constantly tweak yourself, because you're going to tweak yourself off center at some point. At this point, I don't see any more tweaks happening. The thing is just running. So there's no, it's caught the things early on, and now it's just running at this point.
Yeah. And
So
the keyword databases, you're pulling just not just the industry keywords, but your competitor ranking keywords as well, right? From the data for SEO. Is that
yes,
right?
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And now I'm starting to bring in AI. Data for SEO is, and whether or not this is good or not to be determined, but they're expanding their endpoints of their APIs all the time. So now they have more and more around AI. They're pinging ChatGPT 5 times and bringing you an, out of 5 times, how many times did you appear? So they're, that kind of, they're bringing the
AI
AEO
visibility.
lens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So results to date, which is, again, it's an early experiment. It's a public experiment. It's public, at least internally into the business, but it's been live for 10 weeks from zero. We had a website, but with no content to this vertical. So
Hmm.
odd enough, we have two product lines in the business, and one's 80% of our revenue, one's 20%. The 20% part, we rank really well. And because a couple of years ago, we were paying 10 grand US to an agency that was writing 2 blog posts a month.
Hmm.
And it worked. They were good at what they did, and we still rank well. But the 80% of our business, we grew actually through trade shows and word of mouth. So
Yeah.
we have no online content. So it's really from 0 to 10 weeks. We've published 45 posts, half roughly English,
Hmm.
French. Our average search position across this 80% of our business has gone from 21 to 15. So we're off the bottom of page 3 and we're on to page 2. And this is me. I pulled this morning because I just went to Claude. Hey, pull all of our GA4 and GSC data because I need to update this for this podcast. Uh, and then we call this product V1 internally. So that's why it says V1. The search clicks per week went from 2 clicks of organic to 16. So it's a 7-fold increase. I mean, it's small numbers still, but we're only 10 weeks into this. Our organic click-through rate is up 50%, 1.43 to 0.65, and we have 2 new channels. French, because we had no French content on our website before, and one of
Hmm.
these French pages is apparently, I'm going to trust that the data I'm getting back from these tools is accurate, is at position 2.8, which is fantastic.
Nice.
And also, we're now tracking ChatGPT referrals. I mean, it's hard to say it went from 0 because we weren't tracking this then, but we're at 11 per week ChatGPT referrals at this point, according to these tools.
That's
Yeah.
nice. Okay.
Yeah.
And your AI visibility, are you using the AI visibility from HubSpot, or is that just the data for SEO?
It's
Which
data for SEO at this point. I
okay,
don't think HubSpot makes it MCP available yet. I think it's still beta on their
it's
sense.
still beta, correct?
Yeah, yeah. I checked in with Claude on that because I like the way they present it. They have really good information in HubSpot, and I want that to be MCPable because my operating system is becoming Claude,
Yeah,
and I just want these third-party tools to give me the data that I need. Right?
that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Hey, HubSpot, if you're listening, here's the feedback.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. So I think this is amazing, Emmanuel. Maybe a couple of follow up questions. If someone wants to set up something like this, would you provide any help to them either through open source libraries or you be available to consult? How do
Yes.
you how do you work with?
Yeah.
I'm sure the listeners might be like, "This is interesting. We've seen a video of Claude and Obsidian, but now there's a live example that we can actually go talk to Emmanuel." Tell us a
Yes.
little more on how you are reachable on that.
Yeah. Well, obviously, so I'm the CEO of Jetstream. So this is my, full-time career, and we're a venture-backed company. So most of my energy is put there. But this is also something I'm passionate about, and I like helping other entrepreneurs and small business owners. That's one of my just personal passions in life, outside of sort of what I do at Jetstream, in the sense of personal passions. So if this is of interest to you and you want to reach out, I would just send me an email. It's Emmanuel, which is Emmanuel jetstreamtech, tech.io. I'm sure it'll be somewhere as well in the meeting notes or podcast
Yeah,
notes.
we'll have it in the show notes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
shoot me a note, and I'd be glad to help see how I can help you with implement this in your business.
So this is amazing. So thank you, Emmanuel. Maybe a couple of rapid fire questions.
Sure.
Let's see if this makes sense. Uh, Long form of writing versus short form writing. Which one do you see more valuable, especially if the posts are being read by AI, right, and not humans? Uh, what do you prefer, or what does your buyers or prospects prefer?
Great question. I personally prefer short form. I'm a mechanical engineer. I didn't do a English literature degree, so I'm a short form kind of bullet point guy. But the overall question of long prose versus short form, I think is still up for debate. I was listening to a webinar on this topic yesterday where there was two debaters, and one of them was an ex-Google guy,
Hmm.
and the debate was like, this is for hospitality. Should the listings for the hotels be really structured and short form with filters, just amenities like structured
Right.
that way, or
Right.
should it be super prosy with describing the park nearby and the sparkling the color of the hot tub and all the stuff? There was, it was a debate. There was no official answer, so I therefore don't have an official answer.
Got it.
Yeah,
Um,
it's up
maybe
for debate
maybe the
still.
next question, a little towards this. So, how many posts in a week is ideal? And maybe the reverse of that is if you do too many posts, does Google ban you or penalize you in some form?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that because I've asked that a few times to Claude, but I just asked again this morning, uh, out of curiosity. We're at 3 posts a week, like I said. The answer is apparently, and included, it's cited excerpts from Google's own website and so on. There is no such thing as like too much in the sense, like there's not like, oh, over five, Google says, oh, you guys are over five, you can't do that. However, it is related to sort of engagement and quality. So if you're pounding 1,000 posts a week that have zero engagement, peop just a bounce rate of 100% within 3 seconds or whatever, then
Mhm.
Google doesn't like that, full stop. But you could be doing 10 posts a week that are extremely, extremely good with high engagements, no bounce rates, and Google would love that. So what I thought there was a number that, oh, you shouldn't be over number. It's not number, it's quality and
Just the
engagement. So
quality. Okay.
yeah, so I've been told through, again, AI that our cadence with our quality checks and the quality of our content is totally fine at 3 per week.
That's amazing. One last question. How much time do you spend on a day-to-day basis on something like this? I'm guessing now, after 10 weeks, your productivity on content creation is probably very, very high, and you're
Hmm.
slowly starting to get more time out because of Claude Cowork actually doing much of the work.
I wish I could say, yeah, I'm just chilling on the beach every day and I go surfing. So no, so the content creation part of this machine is now running. It's really good. We have exciting early metrics and numbers. Great. Now I'm building other parts. Like my goal is to build slowly but surely with Obsidian as my markdown vault, a marketing department. So next step
Mm.
of this thing is to expand to social media posting. Like, we all know in marketing, once you create a blog post, it can be slice and dice and reuse. I'm going to automate that component of it. But again, well done with quality checks, using our brand voice, with monitoring the metrics so we can serve black eye and self-improve. I'm going to build that part. And then I'm going to expand beyond that. But that's like my next horizon is building that component. And bit by bit, I'm just going to build what ultimately would be a 2, 3 person marketing department using Claude, I think,
Using
for our
just
business.
maybe $20 of tokens every
Yes,
month or something
exactly.
like that.
And all of this, which I didn't say at the beginning, is because we're a profitable company and we're lean as all heck. I have no choice. And this finally gave me the tool. Like if I want to make a noise in the industry, I kind of have to figure it out this way because I
Okay.
don't have extra capital to do it any other way. That's really the ultimate reason for all
Yeah,
this.
yeah, that
Yeah,
that makes perfect sense. So, Emmanuel, thank you so
yeah.
much for sharing all the insights. I mean, I'm sure the listeners would be very keen about how to build a content engine that just does not create a lot of AI slop. You solved it with both the combination of Claude Cowork, which is the AI portions of it, and the structured knowledge system that Obsidian and the
Yeah.
amazing set of connectors that you've connected all of this. I particularly like the whole flow that you have from ideation to publishing, but I'm sure our listeners might like different parts of your systems. But again, thank you so much for this great conversation. To all the listeners, we'll actually have Emmanuel's maybe this document and his contact and just Stream's information on the socials. Emmanuel, again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Raj. It's been a pleasure.